Get me that signal. We need more power.
Welcome to the Voice of E, entertainment for the Everyday Geek. I am your host, Elliott Miller. This week in board game news, coming next month from Victory Point Games is Infection, Countdown to Extinction. James Franklin, Patient Zero, collapses after stepping off a plane from Zaire at JFK International Airport. He's rushed to Forest Hills Hospital, where he's placed in an isolation ward. It is quickly discovered he has Morbusian, a constantly mutating virus that is resistant to all known antibiotics. The survival of humanity itself is at stake. In Infection, Countdown to Extinction, you are the director of a CDC field office in New York City, in the United States of America. You make the decisions about what parts of the virus to study, this part or that part, which personnel to hire, and what equipment to purchase. You'll soon discover you're working with an eccentric group of scientists who don't always work well together. Oh, we know how those scientists are. And one very resourceful lab rat named Marvin. As the casualties increase, so do the stress and mistakes made as you try to complete your vaccine before time runs out for all of mankind. Next up, just announced from Stronghold Games, is Space Sheep. Yes, Space Sheep. A very unique game designed by Anthony Rubo. Space Sheep is a real-time, customizable, cooperative game with a possible traitor in the midst, with a dash of pepper. In Space Sheep, you are defenders of the Strategic Sheep Command, the SSC, of the Lambda Sector. Trilam? A new race known only as Wolf has been found. Their message is clear: total annihilation of sheep kind. The Flock Commander and the most elite defenders are ordered into the latest Shepherd-class ships with the mission of recovering all space sheep and returning them to their home systems via the complex hyperspace network. Unfortunately, SSC intelligence has determined that there would be members of Wolf in Sheep Commander's uniform secretly working against you. The defenders only have a limited time and resources to bring the space sheep and shepherds back to home, thwarting the evil Wolf plans. It's for 1 to 8 players. Interesting, 1 to 8. Space Sheep is extremely customizable, making each play experience different. Players choose the number of systems in play to change the game complexity, the number of tactic cards to use, which changes the game difficulty, different than complexity, the strength of the wolf changes the game's difficulty as well, from 0 to 3, allegiance cards to use, and the direction cards to use. Tactic cards are your resources used to move the space sheep and shepherds between the system or for defense. The sand timer is managed by one player who must flip the timer over before it runs out, but ensuring that enough defense is in place or a wolf attack occurs, forcing players to lose more cards. Space Sheep is unlike other real-time and cooperative games, says Stephen Bonacore, president of Stronghold Games. He would probably say it something like this: Anthony Rubo has designed a puzzle-solving game that is very customizable and very scalable. By adding traders, there's an amazing degree of tension for advanced players. Okay, maybe you wouldn't say it like that. Space Sheep is slated for a fourth quarter 2013 release by Stronghold Games at the Essen Game Fair. In other news, Fantasy Flight Games announces the final expansion to Battlestar Galactica. The Battlestar Galactica, humanity's last beacon of hope, falters and crumbles. A tenuous solidarity between human and Cylons wavers under overwhelming desperation and doubt. For those seeking the promise of peace, a single vessel guards the future. The Demetrius, guided by unknown forces, plots a course through the stars, a course for home. Many would oppose this version of the future, or vision. In this desperate time, both human and Cylons are driven to take matters into their own hands. For some, this means risking everything. For others, this means risking nothing, because they don't own it. Oh, it means mutiny. Fantasy Flight Games announces Daybreak, an upcoming expansion for Battlestar Galactica. the board game. With 2 supplemental game boards, 2, and hundreds of cards and tokens, I want to see that component drop. Daybreak invites players to undertake desperate missions, struggle under the constant threat of mutiny, and bargain with Cylon leaders driven by their motives of their own. Daybreak introduces 12 new character sheets, 30 new crisis cards, 25 new skill cards, and much more. Patch your fellow crew members up as the crotchety Sherman Doc Cottle. Argue your way out of a tight spot as the clever Romo Lampkin, or take the role of one of several other fan-favorite characters. Whoever you choose, you'll face a range of never-before-seen crisis cards. Even as the fleet falls apart from years of wear and tear, it is plagued by religious turmoil, an openly insubordinate crew, and constant harassment by Cylons. Luckily, their time at war has also honed the crew's skills, not the skills crews. New skill cards represent the level of adaptability and fearlessness you'd expect from seasoned veterans. As humanity enters its darkest hour, a glimmer of hope appears on the horizon. By undertaking a series of dangerous missions, the colonial fleet has an opportunity to not simply survive to see another day, but to once and for all defeat their enemies and find a home to start their new lives. The Search for Home is a collection of rules and components that together make up an optional Battlestar Galactica experience. A new endgame, hopefully better than how the show ended, plus much more. The Search for Home option adds a game board for the Demetrius, the sewage processing ship that becomes the fleet's best hope of salvation. The crews of the Galactica and the Demetrius will go on challenging missions, represented by new mission cards, as they gradually approach a new life on Earth. These high-risk, high-reward mission cards offer potentially game-changing effects, if you can earn them. With all of these options, and much more, the struggle between humans and Cylons has never been more desperate. Can you overcome treachery, the threat of mutiny, and the enigmatic motives of Cylon leaders to survive? Pfft. Find out when the Battlestar Galactica expansion Daybreak, the board game expansion, Anyway, comes out in the 3rd quarter of 2013. That's this year. I know what you're asking yourself. You're saying, what about news in the RPG world? Isn't it? Okay, well, anyway, one of the hottest items on DriveThru RPG is Mummy, the Curse, from White Wolf, a storytelling game set in the World of Darkness rule system. When you trespass, the reason you feel you are being watched is because you are. The fear is real. When you steal, the dread that comes over you is neither guilt nor paranoia, but the cold certitude of fate. The curse is real. When you die, know that your life was but a flash upon the face of the deep in the mind of your judge. We are real, and we are risen. Ankh Nephris, the hand of wisdom. Imagine being both dead and deathless at the same time. Okay, come back. Imagine being cradled in the arms of death for years, sometimes decades on end, but all the while knowing that you will eventually not only arise again, but awaken to an unfamiliar world that mostly fears and hates you. Yes. Now imagine that your purpose, your entire existence, is bound within this cycle, that you are chained to it for all eternity, a la Michael Moorcock. You sleep, you wake, you serve your judge's will in the lands of the living, and you return to the death sleep once more. The ancient culture that empowered you is gone, lost to the sands of time. Yet, you endure. In Mummy the Curse, you play one of these beings, those who know they exist, from the cultists who serve them to the dark forces arrayed against them. Call them the Deathless. We call them mummies. Here's what's included in the book. The first new World of Darkness game since 2009. It represents a step forward in the evolution of the storytelling system. The book includes a player section, a storyteller section, and a complete SAS story. Everything you need to get a chronicle up and running. Includes extensive information on the Deathless, from their half-remembered past to their beliefs and social conventions to their personal motivations and more, including hygiene. mummies, wrapped up and stuff. It's got to be annoying. There's scores of new examples of both game elements, powers, relics, merits, etc., and new concepts, from the fivefold system of pillars to the all-important descent. Opening fiction by award-winning author Greg Stoltz, stunning original art by Sam Araya, Kathy Wilkins, Aaron Acevedo, Andrew Trabold, Borja Linares, Vince Locke, James Stanton, Marco Mazzoni, John Lindrews, and Tyler Winham. Mummy the Curse is available on DriveThru RPG for $19.99 as a PDF, or $34.99 hardcover. And finally, Chief Frog will be launching another Kickstarter campaign soon for A Study in Emerald, based on the short story by Neil Gaiman. The premise is simple. The year is 1881, and the Old Ones have been ruling the Earth for over 700 years. Although most of humanity has accepted these monstrous rulers, there's a growing underground movement to overthrow the regime, labeled the Restorationists. A secret war is being fought around the cities of Europe and the New World between agents of the Restorationists and those loyal to the powers that be. The award-winning short story combines the worlds of Sherlock Holmes and H.P. Lovecraft. Yes, H.P. Lovecraft. The board game has gone one step further to bring in real historical figures to flesh out this alternate reality, allowing players to examine an interesting what-if situation. There's a deck-building component to the game. You start with a deck of 10 cards and you add to this set as the game goes on. There's 12 decks of cards on the board, one in each city. You can gain these cards through the use of influence cubes, in what is in effect a bidding system. As an action, you can place influence cubes on a card that you would like to draft. If at the beginning of your next turn you have the most influence on that card, then you can choose to claim it and place it on your discard pile. You can also use influence to gain control of cities, which will earn you victory points as well as the benefits of the city card. There are many directions a player can take in this game, some of which will be determined by the cards that are available. As some cards are removed from the set at the beginning of the game, and the rest are arranged in random piles, then no two games will be exactly the same, which is the whole deck building aspect. The cards allow for the appearance of zombies and vampires. You can employ the services of the Russian secret police, otherwise known as the Okhrana, to harass your opponents, or call on the Old Ones themselves. Hello? Hello? To appear. You must be careful, though, when dealing with such terrible forces, as your sanity will be tested to its limit. A Study in Emerald is designed for 2 to 5 players and should take around 2 hours to play. That's all the board game news I have for this week. Stay tuned for entertainment news and comic book news. You'll see the links right here if I decide I'm going to do them this week. If they're not, then I won't be there. Because it's all up to me. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for watching The Voice of E, entertainment for the Everyday Geek. I am your host, Elliott Miller, and until next time, keep your mind free.
Get me that 6. We need more power.